Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Empty Seats. I'm Simon and this is going to be a place where we can talk about the Football League, discuss the 71 clubs involved and dabble in the Premier League every now and again if the mood takes us. Now this is my first ever video, so let's get into it. So football is coming back, of course. The Premier League is back on the 17th of June. The Championship's coming the following weekend. And League Two, of course, have decided to end their season on unweighted points per game, seeing Crewe, Swindon and Plymouth go up automatically, and 4 teams contest the playoffs whenever they are going to be played. But that just leaves one difficult division the EFL just cannot get right. Oh yeah, League One, baby. There's 6 breakaway teams desperate to continue playing the season. The big clubs, Peterborough, Sunderland, Ipswich, Oxford, they're all involved in there, wanting to keep playing the season. But then a lot of clubs, even the majority it seems, are happy to take points per game. There's a few other proposals thrown in there that we will talk about, of course, Tranmere being the main one. But that meeting is going to take place on the 9th of June. That's Tuesday, delayed, of course, from Monday the 8th to June the 9th. And that is where the big decisions will be made from all clubs involved. Now, when that meeting rolls around, of course, it'll be 93 days since the ball was last kicked in League One, and that just seems like too long a gap, and it seems like they've left it too long for the season to continue. If you compare that with the Championship and Premier League clubs, it looks like they've been given about 3 weeks of pre-season, if you want to call it pre-season, to continue before they get back into competitive action. And now it just seems too late to continue the season for those League One teams. The EFL, of course, are wanting to get the season done and dusted by the end of July, which means if you consider those 3 weeks of pre-season, we're almost running out of time. That only gives a month for the 9 games to be played, of course. So on Tuesday, it does seem likely that clubs will vote for unweighted points per game. That is going to be put up against continue playing in the vote, and also a couple of other proposals which will need to be discussed. Now, Rotherham chairman Tony Stewart has phoned round, and he believes that 15 of those 23 clubs in League One this season are going to vote for unweighted points per game. That does seem a hefty majority, and that does seem the way things are going at the moment. But there's still arguments to be made for those on the continue playing side. Of course, if it is unweighted points per game, that'll mean Coventry win the league, Rotherham come second, and Wycombe, Oxford, Portsmouth and Fleetwood contest the playoffs. That'll be a great playoff, those 4 teams involved. But then, of course, you've got the likes of Sunderland and Peterborough missing out. Ooh, they won't be happy about that at all, and that's a key problem. People aren't going to be happy. People are going to leave this meeting pissed off. They're not going to be happy, and we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Now, Barry Fry at Peterborough, he has also concluded that it looks likely unweighted points per game will be used to decide the season, which means Peterborough's chances of promotion, of course, diminish in front of our eyes. Obviously, they're a club who have spent big this season. Sunderland are the same. Their wage bill is too big to be in League One. They're just trying to look after their own interests and give themselves a fair chance at promotion. But I do understand the frustration of ending a season early, especially when you're just outside the playoffs, so you've had a good run of wins and you could still get promoted. Gillingham look like a club who would also want to continue the season. Obviously, they've got Steve Evans in charge, and he's the most competitive man in the EFL, so it did look likely they would continue playing. However, Paul Scally, their chairman, came out and said they could run out of money in 3 months, which obviously is more important than continuing playing the season. It does look likely that they will switch sides all of a sudden and potentially vote for the season to be ended early. And finances, of course, a massive issue in League One. Accrington chairman Andy Holt predicted it would cost £640,000 for his club alone to continue playing the season. That involves getting players off furlough, getting staff off furlough, and of course doing the coronavirus testing that is needed. Now, the EFL recommended that clubs should test players 2 times a week, and the Independent estimated that will cost about £30,000 per club per week, and those finances are just ridiculous for League One clubs. For Premier League clubs, obviously it makes sense. They've got a huge amount of money coming in via the TV revenue. Championship clubs, it probably makes sense to play on. They've got more finances at their disposal. But for League One, that is a kind of iffy bit. It's a bit of a grey area whether they should continue or not. And now it looks likely they will put an end to the season on Tuesday. Now, Tranmere's proposal is an interesting one, of course. It would see Coventry promoted automatically, the only club to be promoted automatically in their system they've devised clubs from 2nd to 9th, that's Rotherham and Doncaster included, would play in an 8-team playoff, which would decide the other 2 promotion places. That would be exciting to watch for sure. Now, Tranmere's proposal relies on margin for error to decide which clubs may finish where. It kind of includes those clubs who want to play on, Peterborough, Sunderland included, and has to draw a line somewhere, and that is under Doncaster. Unfortunately for Ipswich, who lie in 10th. It's an interesting proposal, this one. It could get some backing. It seems to suit the needs of many clubs, probably barring Rotherham, who would be fuming to drop out of the automatic promotion places. But the one thing with Tranmere's proposal, and the thing that could see its downfall, is the fact that in the relegation zone, Bolton and Southend would be relegated, but because of that margin for error, Tranmere would get another season in League One, and that is a problem for many of these proposals. It does seem like clubs have their own self-interests at heart. We've already mentioned Sunderland and Peterborough, but AFC Wimbledon happy to vote for points per game because it would mean they'd stay up. Tranmere looking to find another way they can stay up. Of course, Coventry and Rotherham willing to take points per game at this point. That would see them back into the Championship without having to kick another ball. Potentially the biggest example of clubs looking after their own self-interest has come in Southend. I mean, Ron Martin, their chairman, he thinks that the season should be null and void. Given this club have only won 4 games all season, I can probably see where he's coming from. He wants to forget this season ever happened. He wants the results to be expunged, and he wants relegation, everything to be cancelled, so his club get another go in League One. But if you've won 4 games all season and been even worse than Bolton, who played about 2 months with kids, and I think you deserve to be relegated, to be honest. They've had a shocker, Southend. Now looking down to League Two, and Port Vale are the interesting club. I think the one who caught most people's eye when points per game were voted for a few weeks ago. That just needs to be confirmed in that EFL meeting on Tuesday. But Port Vale were 1 place and 1 point outside the playoffs and voted to end the season. Now they voted to do that to look after the interests of other League Two clubs and the division's finances in general. Their own finances, of course, come into that, but they had a real chance at promotion this season. Their chairman, their board, put the priorities of other people in front of their own, and that was refreshing to see, really, in League Two. Port Vale, well done. So what do I think will happen? I think it will be unweighted points per game. That does seem likely. Rotherham have said that 15 clubs will vote for it, and that seems around on the right ballpark figure, I think. Peterborough chairman Barry Fry has also supported the case that his side will probably not be promoted this season. Tranmere's proposal for me is probably the most interesting way to finish the season. Interesting and fair, potentially. It does involve all of those clubs in the playoff hunt, and the maths behind it seems fairly reliable, seems to work out the averages. It does seem to suit a lot of clubs, as I've said, barring Rotherham, who would drop into an 8-team chaotic playoff. But that would make for great watching, wouldn't it? All those clubs involved striving to get back into the Championship. And of course, I am a little bit biased, because if you've noticed by me, I am a Coventry fan, of course, so my team are likely to be promoted. Whatever happens, if we continue playing, I believe we're good enough to win the league. But Tranmere's proposal, of course, would be the only club promoted automatically. Maybe I'd think differently if we'd have to be involved in the playoffs. But we do have a 5-point lead at the top of the league, of course. But I don't think Tranmere's proposal will get voted through. I think there's too many clubs happy to stay where they are financially, happy to take unweighted points per game, and of course not wanting to look like Tranmere have got out of a relegation they potentially deserve. It's very difficult to say that, obviously, with the season not being completed. It's going to be a difficult decision for whatever happens on Tuesday. 9th of June, what a date. It could be the day promotions are decided, relegations are decided. Indeed, it does look likely that is going to happen. But of course, Coventry being promoted in a boardroom is not how I'd have liked to end the season. Financially, of course, it does seem to make sense. We'll be in the Championship, get that security, and hopefully kind of play in our own city again would be a start, wouldn't it? Ground sharing with Birmingham is not ideal. So financially, I think we've got to put ourselves first in that aspect, and we will vote for ending the season early. But we're going to be deprived of that moment of winning the league, that referee whistle blowing, that celebration of winning the league, promotion, deserving it. You don't want to win the league in a boardroom. It's as simple as that. Having said that, financially, I think for most clubs it makes sense to end the season early. So in conclusion, it looks like 15 of the 23 clubs will vote to end the season early, and League One will follow in League Two's footsteps and be brought to a close on Tuesday afternoon at some point. that's it from me, guys. That's been my first video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hopefully they'll get better than this. This is my first attempt. Please do like and subscribe down below and stay tuned for the next one. Cheers, guys.